Hey everyone, welcome to episode 66 of the Penciled In Podcast. I'm so glad to have you back again, Lindsey. Today on this show, we are having Robert Jimenez, an artist, publisher. He's owner of Zero Street. He is just an all-around amazing person with gorgeous art. You must check out his stuff. Welcome to the show, Robert. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Hello, Robert. It's nice to meet you.
How are you?
I'm okay. Doing all right. How we like to start usually is to go to the past and find out how you got interested in art, what were your favorite things to draw when you were a kid, and then just move on from there.
Yeah. So I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and definitely comic books and trading cards were like the first thing I remember. We lived in a neighborhood where there was either a bodega or a newsstand, every few blocks. And that's where I purchased my comics, and in particular Wacky Packages early on. But a lot of the top stuff as I grew up, from the Superman movie, Kiss, anything you can think of, tops wise, I would pick up. I really only remember there being tops, but I guess there was sports stuff, which I've never been too into. My brother is a big sports collector, but we would go down to the newsstands or the store and pick up whatever we could with the money we had, and that's where it started. Long before sketch cards were around.
Did you find yourself drawing your favorite images from those?
Yeah, for like a lot of people, for me, it was Batman. And the funny thing is, it still is. If I'm just doodling or whatever, I just kind of find myself doodling weird Batmans all the time. Ever since I was, I don't know, 5, 6, I don't remember, but it's always been Batman.
Awesome. What did you do?
It is a lot. I should say, Mars Attacks Alien. I love that design, and I doodle those all the time and do paintings of them as well.
I think we've heard mentioned on the podcast before. Wasn't Mars Attacks a thing before they did the film?
Oh yeah. Mars Attacks was 60 something, I think, was the first top set. Yeah.
Wow. So it actually started as trading cards, and
it was a trading card that I believe Norm Saunders painted. Yeah.
Amazing. So what did you do after you left school? Did you go on to study art, or did you...
it was 8th grade or so that we moved down to Florida, and I was at a Catholic school before that, where I don't remember there being an art class. I know we did art, but once I moved down to Florida and went into public school, I took whatever art classes I could have, and like a wood shop class, which was something I didn't even imagine in Brooklyn, or at least in the Catholic school I was in. That wasn't something that was offered. But so from then on, 8th grade on, just took as many art classes as I could, and then went to Miami-Dade Community College, where I got a degree in what was then called commercial art and advertising design. All of which, everything I learned there is just non-existent. It was the manual paste up. I don't know if you're familiar with that, when you would paste together an ad or a magazine, and it was, you go into a photo, there'd be the typeset and the photo, and you go into a photo lab and photograph it, then bring it out, and with wax, you paste it all together the way it's supposed to, the final layout.
That must have been really fun to do, actually.
I thought it was fun. The what they call the stat rooms were fun to use. They were like little dark rooms. You run it through this wax machine, which would wax the back of it, so you could always lift it up and move it, and it would just stay. And you really honed your eye for things that were level or unlevel or whatever. And then actually I was like at the tail end of that, because then PageMaker came in.
Oh, I remember.
I learned that. And that's probably my first job, was using a combination of both, some desktop publishing, as they called it, and an actual manual paste up.
Oh. Wow. So what did you think of that, going from manual to digital?
Well, I had a computer early on. I was always one who just kind of was into the technology. So a computer was something I was very familiar with. And I used to draw on MS Paint, which I know people still do. So I don't remember feeling.
I'm sorry. What was your first computer? I must know.
Oh, it was an off-brand computer bought at like a warehouse that would build in Hialeah, Florida, that would build computers. It was off-brand, and I've always been a PC person. I'm not an Apple person. I like my Google Pixel phone and my Windows. I did use jumping ahead, but sometime after that, I landed in TV, and I did use a Mac there for, I don't know, probably about 20 years, all the while using a PC at home. And, I know there's a lot of people who don't, Mac lovers who don't warm up to PC. I don't get that, because I could seamlessly go between home and work with no issues whatsoever.
There you go. I had a PC for 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I'll consider buying, to be honest.
They just didn't last as long as the Macs, but whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
I had Mac at college, PC at home.
Yeah.
It was all Mac at college.
Yeah. Same with me. We had whatever those, I'm not, I don't know the names of them, but starting from the little Mac that had the tiny monitor, was like a little rectangle.
Yeah.
On forward. I used all those throughout school and college. Yeah. So then I ended up in television at Univision, the Spanish language network, which is down in Doral, Florida, which is close to where I lived. And I was there for about 2 decades doing on-air design and often illustration, but mainly design and animation.
Oh, cool. And I also see you have an interest in music, because you got a guitar behind you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've got a few guitars that I don't deserve, because I hardly play or know how to play, but I love guitars. Yeah.
That's like my guitar's been sat there not doing anything for a long time. So my guitar's been sat there not doing anything for a long time. I ended up with carpal tunnel, and I just can't put the pressure on my fingers anymore.
Yeah, that's difficult. And I did make a strong effort around the time my first daughter was born to try to learn, and I would play for her a lot. But I kind of believe that it's very difficult to split up your attention between two arts and keep it consistent. So it's hard, kind of fell by the wayside.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. How did you find your way into sketch cards? What was your first introduction to the concept?
So, I've always followed Topps, and I've been a fairly regular buyer of it. But I would say maybe when, it just seemed that there was a period where a lot of artists were moving on to Facebook and Twitter. And that's really the kind of people I would follow. I don't remember first being aware of sketch cards. I didn't have one in hand. I'm sure I saw it first online, and I took an interest in that. And at the time, what I remember, it was mainly Star Wars sketch cards. I remember the Indiana Jones set, a few of those. But then where I really became interested is when I saw the Mars Attacks sketch cards, and I don't remember. I think it was a reissue of the original series that they did, if I'm not mistaken.
If I'm thinking of the set that you're talking about, and I could be wrong, but I think it was the one that was put out actually by, I think Jeff Zapata was the art director for that.
Oh, possibly. Yeah.
I was actually on that set, if I remember.
Oh, really?
Right. And then I think there was another set either before or after. I don't know who was involved with that one. I don't remember now.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was the set where artists were given the option of like 300 or 400 sketch cards. Is that right?
That's the deal.
Yeah, because one of the artists that I got to know a little bit from Facebook is Michael Banks. He goes by Sugarfueled, and he did sketch cards for that set. And I remember talking to him at a show, and he was just, when he received that box, he was just so overwhelmed. But at that point, I hadn't done it, so I started. I think I might have actually submitted some art to the Mars Attacks Facebook page. I think that's how it happened. and Adam Levine, who was running it, signed me up for, I want to say it was Mars Attacks Invasion. I think that was the first one I ever did. And yeah, because then I think after that was Occupation. But after Invasion, then you know how it is. The invites just start pouring in from everybody, and I started doing a lot of Star Wars. And Upper Deck invited me to a number of sets. I did Ghostbusters, Adventure Time, some of the Marvel sets, and then I got the invite to Garbage Pail Kids when they really kind of opened it up to some other artists, and did quite a number for a few years. And to be honest, I find that hard work, sketch cards. I enjoy it, but there's also a big feeling of dread when that FedEx box comes blanks.
Oh yeah.
That's not a good feeling.
I shouldn't laugh because it really is. These are really good opportunities for people. You learn a lot, and your work does get out to a lot of people that wouldn't otherwise. It's a good thing. So
yeah. Oh, and you definitely,
when you say that, the sense of dread, I shouldn't laugh and sympathize because, it's a good thing, but
it's a very good thing. Yeah.
It's why I don't really want to do those kind of things so much now. I just, after all these years, that feeling of dread, it makes you not want to create something pretty, so.
Yeah, it's difficult work. And I've actually cut out to where I only do Garbage Pail and Wacky Packages. That's all I do. I stopped doing Star Wars. I don't know how many years it's been. When The Force Awakens came out, were you on that?
Yes, I was.
Where they, we worked on them, then they scrapped the whole thing.
Yeah, well, they did I think it was Lucasfilm.
Yeah, that's when Lucasfilm
that had to approve everybody, so they went to everybody's website, and even though you didn't know it, and then they just checked out your work, and they were fine, by the way, if you had Star Wars stuff on it, and they were okay with it. But okay, yeah, they went through all of that, and then there was a very small list that we got on those that set at that time, and then I don't know why, but after that set, it all changed again. So
Yeah, and that's we eventually did something for The Force Awakens, I think.
Yes,
but I'm pretty sure it's the last one I did. Okay. I enjoy doing Garbage Pail Kids and Wackies. The Garbage Pail Kids are the ones I do best with, in terms of selling my return cards, and Wacky pretty well. Wackies are my first love, so I always enjoy doing them. So yeah, and that feeling that I'm talking about, that feeling of dread, it's only because of it's just hard work. It's not that you hate it it really is hard work. And I try to pace myself. I'll say, I'll try to do 5 cards a day, because I'm also doing a lot of other stuff, and I'm still a broadcast designer and animator. So I'm like just working. I'm doing art all day long.
Art is your main employee.
Yes. I'm an animator and designer, and also, as I said, occasional illustrations within that realm, but more so just graphic design and animation.
Lindsey has some training in animation too. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
A little bit, but I was doing like the traditional 2D redraw every frame type animation.
Yeah, that's not the animation I'm referring to. I'm referring to like the open of a TV show or the news, or a sports show. That kind
well,
of
you can tell by looking at your website what a good eye you've got for promotion. If you've not seen his website, it looks amazing. I'm so jealous. But I'll probably look at it to take, try and take some tricks and tips and from the design you've got.
Oh, everybody visit your website. It's really well done. It's easy to get around, and you can see things right away. It's well done. I really like that.
Yeah, really good.
I appreciate it. Yeah, television is tough. It's not, sketch cards are nothing compared to TV. So you develop a speed that's necessary, and it's kind of weird, but and I'm not at all the greatest designer out there, but you have to design sometimes a whole package of a show, really quickly. So that, just like sketch cards will hone your drawings, because that's, to me, the biggest benefit that I've received from sketch cards is just the ability to draw certain things quickly and better. And then TV's done that to me for sure for design work. And I like the animations you see on my Kickstarters, I knocked those out in no time. I worked on a morning show. The Univision network has a morning show. It's called Despierta America, and I worked on that for like 12 years straight. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning and just doing opens sometimes with minutes, available to me. So that has honed all those skills, and I'm super grateful for that. That's it's the same as sketch cards. Grateful for it, completely grateful and thankful. But there is a cost, and it's just difficult, But then it gives you those heightened skills,
Well, those deadlines force you to do it at speed as well as you can, and as you go along, your skills improve, and it becomes a little bit easier. I mean, it's still hard work, but once you know what you're doing, you can kind of get your head around it a bit more. The thing I've been struggling with sketch card sets recently, it's the fact that you can't use your work again. Like it's dead after that. There's nothing else you can do with it. You can't do your own prints or anything.
Oh, I see. Yes, sure.
That's the frustration I'm feeling at the moment. Because you think, well, I could probably make a really nice set out of this, but it's for somebody. I've done it for somebody else. It belongs to them now. That's
why, that's why I know you just did a set as well. I'm a firm believer. I'm not a fan of doing fan art. And I've never, the few shows, I don't do shows too often, and the few shows I've done, I might have at the beginning had a few prints of something, but it feels wrong to me somehow. So I don't do it. And I always, from the start, have just wanted to create my own IPs. Some of them are derivative of the stuff I loved as a kid, for sure. But I think it's important to just develop and create your own IPs. I think in the long run, that's going to help you way more than ever doing prints of Deadpool or whatever.
Well, you can only go so far with that, can't you? You can't, it's not yours to begin with. So I absolutely agree. I love creating new characters, and
Yeah, and I'm sure it's gotten some people work. I know I've seen stories. The fan art could lead to comic book work or whatever, which. But that's not something I'm interested in. It was early on I'd love to do covers. That's something I'm pursuing, comic book covers. That's about where I would end with that, I think. Sequential comic book work is probably 100 times harder than sketch cards, to do.
Yeah. So when did you get the first bit of inspiration to want to create your own sets? When did you think, right, I'm going to have this?
Well, I just always have that urge to create something. And my first Kickstarter was, I love old pulp magazines like The Shadow, The Spider, stuff like that. So my first Kickstarter was this pulp. I created a fake pulp magazine cover to cover. I did the fake ads, the letters from the fans, the editor's note. I wrote the stories. I did the whole thing and packaged it as a supposedly existing book. And during that Kickstarter, I offered 5 trading cards. And it just kind of developed naturally. I didn't really think about it. My second Kickstarter was the Weird Ass Faces that you were mentioning, the coloring book. And then the third was the playing card set I did. So I was just kind of, and the coloring book, I also offered 5 little trading cards. And actually sketch cards were part of the reward. And then the next set was my playing card set. So I was just kind of moving towards cards, kind of.
Yeah.
I guess.
How did your playing card set Kickstarter go?
Oh, it did really well. I when I thought to do that, I had no clue that there was a huge collector's market for these. I don't know what you call them, vanity sets or whatever that There's tons of them, and there's so many people who collect them. So I kind of looked around. I didn't see a tiki art one, and that I have kind of my biggest fan base or customer base is from my tiki work. So I thought to do something, for that group of supporters, and I came up with the idea of the trading card set. Sorry, the playing card set. I am doing a trading card set. A tiki trading card set is like my third one down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I did this, and then thanks to Facebook, so many people, once I started teasing it that I was working on it, so many people reached out to me, including a magician who's a friend of mine on Facebook. It's not someone I've met before, but he's in the tiki scene. He's out in California. Larry is his name, and he said, "Hey, I hope you're using USPCC. They're the company that makes the bicycle playing cards.
Okay.
The famous the ones you see, the main sets are bicycle brand.
Yeah.
And they're in, I want to say they're in Kentucky. So I was aware of them, but Larry kind of prodded me to check them out. And it's offset printing and it's expensive. But that is the card that magicians want to use. They don't want to use anything else.
Really?
As I understood it, yeah. So many magicians messaged me saying, "Are these going to be USPCC?" So I just went with that, and it was a higher goal I had to meet, but I did very easily. I still, as a matter of fact, the great thing about Kickstarters, which you two probably know, is it finances your print to cover your backers, but yet it keeps you with a large inventory that you can keep selling.
Keep selling, yeah.
So I still have a lot of my playing cards left. I sell those just constantly. I think that's one of my biggest sellers.
That's something.
And they've been reviewed on YouTube. I find them on Reddit all the time. I mean, that's a really nice avenue. I have another idea for a second one, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Yeah, so those playing cards are great.
Wow. So how long have you been running your business now with your trading cards and everything? How long has it taken you to build up, because you go on your website and there's so much to look at, all the different products. Yeah, how long would you say it's taken to build it up?
I remember I started, I was always just a kind of pen and ink illustrator. But when my second daughter was born, 2009, that's probably the first year I started painting in acrylic. And that's when my tiki art just kind of started pouring out of me, and I gained a lot of followers. So I would say probably from around 2009 to somewhere maybe, I had the Zero Street website already at that point. So I would say I started trying to turn it more into a brand maybe only about 5-6 years ago, I think. Okay. Maybe
I went pretty
around the start of the Kickstarters.
All right. What kind of acrylics do you use? Just because I use acrylics too.
Brand, you mean? Oh, I use everything from the cheapest basics to whatever I find on sale.
Yeah.
A blick art or Windsor. Oh no, this is oil. I have oils in here too. Windsor Noon. I'll use whatever I can get. Yeah. I try everything. I try to work in gouache, in oil, watercolor, but acrylic is what I tend to. It's just easier for me to pick up and go. But I'll be honest, I just haven't done a lot of it in the last few years because of the trading card work.
Yeah. So you've got your fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah.
Your tiki, my favorite pin that I saw on your site, which now I'm tempted to actually get one. I think it's actually based on your tiki art, if I'm not mistaken.
All of my pins are just based on a drawing or a painting I did.
But your enamel pin,
yeah,
I love your enamel.
Are you talking about the one with the yellow one with the flames?
Yes.
Above?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's based on one of my paintings. Yeah.
Okay. It's so funny. I've never come across tiki stuff. Excuse me. Until I played a computer game. I think it was Sam and Max. Did you ever play that? They had a lot of tiki stuff in it, and I'd never heard of it before. I was like 12, something like that.
The origins of tiki. Do you have any knowledge of that?
I mean, it's it's first of all, I'm not familiar with the game you mentioned, but there's the Polynesian tikis, which there's like this Polynesian triangle that encompasses, I guess, like Hawaii, Easter Island, New Zealand, then some of the smaller islands, Marquesa Islands, Cook Islands, and all those areas have different tikis. They're very different from what you might see at, I don't know if you have Party City or some sort of party store. That's big down here, like a lot of very colorful tikis. There's like a few different styles. They're not really rooted in the Polynesian ones. I try to keep, for the most part, rooted in real Polynesian tikis. And certainly most of the collectors just want to see that, in the artwork.
That tiki stuff is really new to me. We don't see a lot of it here in Canada or Quebec, not very much.
Yeah, so it started like in around the 50s or so. Tiki bars started opening up, and local to me is Maikai, which is one of the most famous like tiki palace, and it's actually being renovated. It's about to reopen. And our family goes there a lot, and because of the Maikai's location, an annual tiki festival has started up called the Hukilau, which I vend at. That's been going on for about 15 years now. But out in California, Southern California especially, there's a lot of tiki bars, a lot of tiki festivals, big tiki collecting community. I would say most of my sales go out to California. Australia also has a big community for that.
I was fascinated to see, like, with the Easter Island heads, how they've got bodies, and they've been exhuming them recently, and I'm like, wow, there's a whole body under there.
Yeah, those are one of my favorites to draw. There's something about the faces that are.
Yeah, they're really awesome.
Yeah.
So how many sets would you say you've released so far?
Well, including the mini sets, my Strange Wise pulp book had 5. Weird Ass Faces had 5. And then I did a baseball parody set, and I think
Sorry, can I just go back a sec? Did you release sets that only had 5 cards in them?
Yes, it was just a little reward to the book that the Kickstarter.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I get you.
Then there was just 5 cards, and I don't know, Fearsome Weirdos. I think I've done 4 of them. I'm working on the 5th one, I believe.
You also include books with some of your Kickstarters, I think, small books that have all the art that you created for the set.
I have. I just put that out not long ago. It's Fearsome Weirdos. I have it over there if you want me to get it, but it's the Fearsome Weirdos collection.
I love that name. I love how that rolls off the tongue. Fearsome Weirdos.
That came over time with, like I said, with the desire to try to create something new. And even though they're mashups or parodies of monsters, existing stuff, or stuff that just calls back to my favorite, things from my youth, I just tried to come up with something. I gave it a little bit of a Munsters look to the logo because I love the Munsters, the TV show, and just to have it be a little familiar maybe to the eye. But yeah, so I think there's 4 of those. I'm working on the 5th one. I finished the Poe set, which launches in a week. So that's 4, 5, 6 with the baseball one. With Poe will be 6 sets, and the next Fearsome Weirdos 7.
So Poe will be underway by the time this video comes out, I think. So
okay. Yeah,
everyone should go and check out.
There's definitely utility in making something look a little bit familiar, isn't there? I noticed with the Die Rabbit Die set I've just done, the character that everybody wanted was the one that with the hockey mask and the chainsaw, because they remind of a certain character,
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely useful to go sort of lean, not steel but lean towards that.
Yeah, sure. A little callback to something, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on being self-employed and having your because obviously you're mixed.
Well, I'm not self-employed, but I've got my broadcast. I mean, I do work for a company.
Okay.
And that's how I've always done it. I know a lot of artists and even some of my artist friends, they can't conceive of getting a job. Now, my job is in the art field, so
Yeah.
I am kind of creating stuff,
That's
but
kind of why I thought you were self-employed in a way, because your job
there's
quote, unquote, is still very creative.
yes, right, and then our family does depend on all my other work. So I just think it's important to have a solid job that provides my family with insurance. It provides definite security, and then all the other stuff, all the stuff we've been talking about, is just extra.
Yeah.
And I work a lot. I work hard, but it's there is worse work to be doing, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I do consider I definitely have a side business, but I also have a full-time job.
It's good how your full-time job feeds into your side business and helps you.
Yeah, I tell my daughters that they're both super creative. They both write, they both illustrate, and I see, and it doesn't even have to be an art job. I see nothing wrong with like I have to take care of them, so I see nothing wrong with me having something. Everybody's different, so I know there. As I said, I know people who feel that would crush their artistic side, and it would kill it. But that's not the case for me. If my day job wasn't art related, I don't know. Maybe that would be the case for me, but it isn't. I'm fortunate in that for sure.
I mean, with myself, like I started working. Well, I went back to college to finish my degree off and started working from home because I'd had a child and I didn't want to. I wanted to always be at home for him. So it just made sense for me to start my art business and start working at home. Yeah, so it's whatever each family needs, isn't it? You'll
right, and I think that's the right thing to do for sure. Yeah, I don't have any. It almost liberates me a little more to take chances and actually, you mentioned about the name Fearsome Weirdos, but when I first came up with that, for weeks it sounded ridiculous to me. I kept, I sent it to a few people. I was like, how does this sound? It sounded absurd, and maybe because of the fact that I have this backup, it frees me a little more to do other stuff.
What was your stupid face set called again? Sorry, I like that as well.
Weird ass faces.
Weird ass faces.
Yeah,
I love it. Fantastic.
So you're obviously a very deep well of ideas and things. Do you see yourself continuing along this path for the foreseeable future?
I hope so. I've noticed a slight slowing, not a slowing down of my output or my ideas, but certainly before COVID, I would, I'd work, I come home. I tend to do a lot of the cooking at home. I'd cook, we'd eat, then I'd work, and I'd sometimes work pretty late. And then being home during COVID for like a year and a half, it just, I don't know if I just got tired of sitting here the whole day, that something changed in me. And I kind of make myself now, like at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I turn all this off. I go out, I read, watch TV, or do whatever we're going to do. And I've maintained that now for a couple of years, and I don't really see my output decreasing. So I guess I'm just using my time a little more efficiently. When I would stay up late, I might have YouTube on or whatever and kind of spend some time looking, but I don't do that anymore. So it's kind of condensed, but I think it's still the same output.
Okay. So COVID actually had quite an effect on you, on your life.
Yeah, I think about that. And, I'm a big reader, and I stopped reading for a long time. And during COVID, I just started again. And I've always been a chain reader. I finish a book, I pick up another one. And I'm back to that, and I don't feel my art has suffered. As a matter of fact, I'm really happy with the post set. That was 36 cards, and Fearsome Weirdos Haunted Heaps, which is the one that's going to come after. I've already got 6 of those done, and that Kickstarter is not going to launch till late summer, I think. So I don't see any negative effect from me turning everything off at 8 o'clock. you know.
Well, you need some time to yourself. You need to wind down, and I mean, it's funny the effect that COVID had on everything, wasn't it? A lot of people discovered their old passions again just because they've been given a little bit of time to themselves where they could just relax and
definitely.
So I mean, as harsh as it was, I mean, I suppose there were some little,
some little things that came out of it that were positive.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't have when it first happened. I thought, who's going to be buying cards at the moment? Like, but it went crazy. Everybody started buying cards, because they found their passion again. And I could not have predicted that.
You hear it all the time, but the first show after COVID or during COVID, but once everybody was the restaurant I mentioned, my Tiki restaurant. They had a parking lot sale, and I went out there, and the amount of people, and it was just great. It was great. So yeah, there's like the release valve, from all that time.
And people have nothing else to do but shop, I suppose, online and stuff, and they discover stuff they didn't know. Sadly, so many people bought pets and now they don't want them anymore. That is a bit of
no.
Yeah, the SPCAs here are just, they're busting at the seams with pets brought back, which is sad. But
that's horrible.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
Talk to us a little bit about your artwork in NFTs. First of all, try explaining an NFT to me.
I don't know if I can. So actually, from my Tiki art, there was a man and his wife come out to see the show I mentioned, Hukila. They'd come out to see the vendors. And we had a friend in common, but he would always come by every year and pick up some stuff from me. And then he is actually just a huge proponent and expert on NFTs. I mean, he goes everywhere and speaks about them. He's down here in Miami. So he reached out to me. Actually, a number of people had reached out to me. There was even some garbage pail collectors who had pulled my card and reached out. Hey, if you want, I'll set you up with your first NFT, or, I got that a lot. But this guy I've known for years, and we had a few long talks, and I decided I did a couple of original pieces for NFTs, and then I took some existing work and put them up. He talked me through getting my crypto wallet, opening my account on OpenSea. It's really not as complicated as you would think. Although maybe the whole notion of NFT
as a thing, yes,
monetary value is a little odd to me, because like I know there's a lot of places that'll accept NFT for, it's a coffee shop, and I just don't get it, or a restaurant or whatever. You pay what might be the equivalent of $12 in NFT, but then tomorrow that not in NFT, sorry, in cryptocurrency, but that currency might be worth $9 tomorrow. I don't understand how that works in terms of a vendor, using it as daily. I don't understand it. It's a little beyond me. I haven't looked into it, to be honest.
I don't understand.
But getting them up there on OpenSea was easy enough, and he's very well connected, and he's a fan of my work, and he periodically gives me shout outs, and I've sold a number of them. I then put my whole Fearsome Weirdos up, the first set, as NFTs, just like one of one. And a number of those have sold. And probably I'll get around to putting my other cards up. I haven't touched any of the crypto funds, they're still sitting there. And it's not huge. It's not like the ones you see on the news that were, hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, it's a couple $100.
I'm going to say, if this isn't a rude question, how much did it cost to make your artwork into NFTs? Because I think there's a certain amount of money you have to put up front.
There's what they call gas fees that fluctuate. So, and there's, if I'm not mistaken, that there was a fee for setting up what they call a collection, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to say I might have started with somewhere in the vicinity of $400 or so that I transferred. Once I had my crypto wallet set up, transferred from my bank account into there, and that covered my collection fee and I want to say the gas fee was a one-time fee for the collection, if I'm not mistaken, but somewhere in that general area.
So you have to invest money into it.
Mm.
Then you put your art into it, and then you hope that someone will buy it. Is that how?
You have to pay this. I might be saying now I'm thinking about it. I think the buyer pays a gas fee also. I might have just paid a one-time fee for the collection. Plus, you have to take some of your funds and put it in your crypto wallet, out of your bank account. So yeah, there's that. It wasn't a huge expense. I've made back more on sales, but as I said, I haven't really touched it. I haven't made a lot of sales.
What dictates the price of your NFT? Do you dictate it, or does the market dictate it?
You do. And I relied on my friend for pricing, and I want to say, I think maybe like the area of 300 US dollars was the value I put on it. So OpenSea works on Ethereum, I think it's called, and Ethereum, it might have been like 0.3 or something Ethereum. I don't recall. But then as that fluctuates, then the price of my piece is higher or lower as it sits there unsold. The Fearsome Weirdos, I put them much lower. I think about 80 US dollars, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it's there's not a whole lot complicated about the listing of it and putting it up there. Grasping all the nuances of it, that's different.
Was it worth your time? What do you think it was worth?
I'm glad for it. I don't and then I have a friend who's a dean at a university nearby, and they have an NFT museum. He's got one of my pieces there. I have no problem. Like, I know a lot of people speak poorly of them. They think it's a scam. I don't know. I don't see that, but I think it's got its purpose. It's not something I'm hugely into, nor will I probably be buying NFTs. So I don't mind having, I think, as you said, my fingers in a lot of pies, and that I used existing art with the exception of one, I think. So it wasn't a very time intensive for me.
New things are quite often a bit controversial, aren't they? I mean, I remember at college way back in the day when we just started doing digital art, and you had that's not real art.
Right. Yeah.
You got to go through all that. I mean, we're having that at the moment with AI art, aren't we? Everyone's a bit freaking out about that.
That I'm not crazy about. Yeah, that's a little different. But actually, the same friend of mine who's dean, he used to often say, in rebutting some of what you just mentioned about early digital art, if you give someone a photograph of a person and you put tracing paper over it and you give them a pencil, someone who has no art skills, they're not going to even trace that very well.
No.
So these tools, I think, my opinion is digital art is easier than traditional art by far.
Yeah.
But you still have to come into it with a certain amount of talent, experience.
You still have to learn it, and
you have to know your shadows and your lighting and everything. But with AI art, I was thinking the other day, like, there's certain programs where you can take a photo of your sketch and it'll fill it all in. And I was like, well, that's a good tool to have to know where your lighting and your shadows and everything should be.
Right.
So perhaps it could be a handy tool in the future. I mean, I get that it's soulless, isn't it? But if you're using it just for reference, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I haven't played around with any of those. What is it? Chat something or other?
Yeah,
I haven't. Oh, what, the AI chatbot?
I really don't have a lot of interest in looking into it at the moment, so I can't imagine I would.
There are also so many things coming out that it's a little bit like if you take, half an hour here to play around with it, half an hour there, half an hour. Well, your day is gone and you haven't gotten anything done.
Right. Yeah.
So there does have to be a time where you're like, okay, that's enough now. Just let other people play with it. I'll hear about it if it's important.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of fun with digital art. I think traditional art is definitely more satisfying, but I got this monitor actually is it's not a Cintiq, but I bought an XP pen, so I draw on it. That's changed a lot how I approach my digital art and my enjoyment of it. It's a lot better than just drawing on a pad and looking up.
Oh, it's strange that, isn't it? Like you need that instant interaction.
Oh
See
yeah,
what
it makes a big
doing,
difference.
definitely.
Sure. Yeah.
Different experience.
I must say I've been having fun playing on my iPad, which is similar. I just see myself ever getting into the big ones, I don't have the job for that really. But on an iPad or something, you can easily, there's so many things, and you can kind of cut your waste of paper a little bit that way, and then use the paper when it's time to do it.
Right.
I do like that very much. But I think what I like most of all is having that original piece of art.
Oh yeah, you can't beat that.
That to either sell or keep or whatever, but you've got that original thing.
That's one thing the computers will never take away from us.
No. And that's
well, you say that they're going to come out with robot hand, aren't they?
a lot of my Kickstarter sets, not all, but most of the images start with ink on paper, even if it's a very rough drawing. And it seems a lot of people like to pick those up as rewards, So I try to make sure that I have most of them like that, and then I just scan it and finish it, in Photoshop. And then sometimes I'm just working so fast and I start the next one that I don't even do the ink drawing. I just open up a new Photoshop page, I do a really loose sketch, and I just start doing the final. So, but it is nice to have that original, even if it's just for me to sketch and get it out,
I do like to scan in sketches and then color them on Photoshop, because I'll use a multiply layer, so all my lines are still there, and it's so easy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can change your mind super easy, and yeah.
Oh yeah. The work I do with the Star Wars app is I've been kind of lucky in very few changes, but it's usually a huge change, and since they're digital, I can knock that out in no time.
So, speaking of sketching, do you use sketchbooks at all?
Yes, I have sketchbooks. Yeah, I've always got a sketchbook around that I doodle, and not as much as I'd like, but yeah. Actually, most of my sketches are on photo paper. I just walk by the printer, take a sheet, and start drawing.
Isn't that something? But those you can easily collect into a little folder and kind of make it into a sketchbook.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I did that. I put out, you were mentioning the books earlier. I put out a sketchbook on Amazon, which is, I would say 80% of it was photocopy paper that I had drawings on. And I just sat there scanning them and put together a little sketch. It's one of the better selling books of mine on there, actually. It's just a bunch of sketches, pencil, ballpoint, whatever.
People really love to see the design work coming along. I mean, when I make a post on Facebook, I'll often get more likes for the sketch work than the finished thing. They like to see how it comes together.
When I started painting the Tiki stuff, especially, I would put the steps from like the sketch and then maybe 10 steps to the final painting. But when Facebook became monetized, nobody would see it anymore. So I just kind of stopped posting that.
Yeah, well, I stopped using my page altogether. What's the point? Like, I went from a couple of 100,000 reach to 8 people, and I thought, well, there's no point.
It's horrible. You assume that everything you show is something you want to sell, and that's not the case. You want to show your process. You want to show, it's not all about a sale, but they treat it as such, so they want you to boost it.
Yeah, maybe I'll take my page down. Like you say, Lindsay, it just doesn't seem to have
there's absolutely no point. The best thing you can do is find your community and enjoy talking to people, and they're the ones who'll look at your work and enjoy it, and and it's such a shame.
Well, that's actually a good point. Which platforms do you prefer to use, Robert?
For social media?
Of social media. Yes.
I kind of use all of them. But Instagram is very difficult. It's very frustrating. I've got like 3,000 followers, and similar to what Lindsay's saying, I post official Lucasfilm artwork that I do for the app, and it gets 10 likes. I don't understand it. And
I don't get it either. Some
yeah,
people do really well on Instagram. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? I don't
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I mean, I did a Tiki piece the other day, it was all digital, and that did get, I might have gotten near 100 likes or something like that, but that's super rare. But I post on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
So you're still a Twitter user?
Yes, yeah, I am. I'm, and I looked at other venues, but I have okay support there. So yeah, I've stayed on there.
Yeah. And what about TikTok?
No,
And I know, thank you.
I do the, I do the reels kind of, there's like this pressure to do reels on Instagram, and they do get more eyes on them than my
reels.
posts.
If I put a reel of something, it could be anything, and it's like ding, 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 ding. I don't get.
Yeah, I think if you do a few seconds of you painting or whatever, those tend to do a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I toyed with the idea of doing a Twitch at one point, but that's live. So if I'm working on something, I'm not allowed to show until the set comes out.
Right. Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do it all the time. It'd be.
Well, I've also had, a YouTube channel, and I've been doing more of the shorts. Some of them get a few more views, but some don't. It's tricky. But I tend to, whatever I'm doing for the Instagram reel, I just do a 15-second version of it for YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, but
that's a good idea.
Doing shorts, but it would take a bit of time to do. And
well, if you want to use licensed music, for some reason it can't be more than 15 seconds. So I like my Instagram reels to be longer. So then I have to edit that, either time remap it to 15 seconds. It's kind of a pain. Yeah. But I try to do a couple of those a week, maybe.
Wow, you are up on it, aren't you? You're doing it all right.
Well, when I'm doing something like this recent Haunted Heaps tease I did, it took me a while, but when I work on that in Photoshop, I tailor it to like every, Instagram to whatever. If I'm doing a video, I make sure I render a 30-second one for Instagram, a 15-second one for YouTube. So I kind of do it all at once.
That's efficiency there. You're working on one thing, you set it up for all. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I put it on my website, and then the Wacky Packages forum and everything,
So how do you decide what you're going to do on any given day? Do you have like a set thing? I'm doing this day, this that day, or do you get up and think, right?
No, it's funny. Yeah, just like kind of like what you're saying. Sometimes right before going to bed, I think, all right, tomorrow. I thought about that the other day because Poe's about to launch. So I had this drawing of a devil in a car I wanted to promote for Fearsome Weirdos. And yeah, so the night before, I'll think I'm going to do that piece, set it out, and that's it. I'm not going to touch that again until Poe is hopefully funded. So yeah, I kind of try to, the night before, make mental notes of what I'm going to do the next day.
And for funding all your projects, you were pretty much exclusively Kickstarter, I would guess, or do you use any of the platforms?
No, I just have used Kickstarter. And, after the first few trading card sets, it was just kind of fun. And, I'm super fortunate that I live like 10 minutes away from the Topps printer.
Oh.
The printer that does the online Topps cards. So it's just, that really has pushed me more to make more trading card sets, because people there are super nice. I've gotten to know them. I go over there, look at my proofs. I mean, it's just been a great process.
Oh, that's ideal. For the rest of us, we kind of have to cross our fingers.
I know.
Mail strikes don't happen. And
I know. Oh yeah, no, I love when I get called by them and say, whatever, Fearsome Weirdos is ready. I drive by and grab the boxes, and I'm good to go. They're collated and everything,
That's awesome. We're going to slowly drive this particular car out the garage. Do you have any advice you'd like to give people who are beginning to think about doing their own licenses, their own sets, their own cards, their own books, work, whatever?
Wow, in general, like I said, I encourage everybody to create for sure their own IPs. Um, you know, I would think most artists have some kind of ideas brewing, maybe that aren't centered on other properties they don't own. So you mentioned books. Amazon KDP, super easy to use. I've got about 6 or 7 books on there. I enjoy using it. Once you have your PDF laid out and ready, you upload it, and your book can be live in a couple days. I highly recommend that. A sketchbook, as I said, that I did, was the black and white books are very affordable if you buy them yourself. When they sell on Amazon, your cut is very low, but you get a decent wholesale price where you can resell them, yourself. So I do both. People buy them off of Amazon, and I always have an inventory at home.
Oh yeah, that's what you're meaning, where you upload your book, they can buy it, and you get a low cut, but you can also buy it yourself.
Correct.
To sell. Okay, I got you.
Correct. Yeah. So that's Amazon KDP. And Kickstarter to me is just a great, easy way. You certainly have to.
Did you say easy?
I think it is.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, I mean, easy to set up and launch. I don't know about easy to fund. You have.
But I mean, there are a lot of steps you have to do. Still, it's not something you just click, and you have
right.
to.
There's numerous steps. It's annoying to me that you have to verify your banking every single time the exact same way, your same number. That there are frustrating things about it, but I find the process overall fairly easy. Someone starting out, they can't. You have to have some sort of following, and definitely I recommend a mailing list. An email mailing list.
Lindsey.
Oh, yeah, MailChimp. Most people use MailChimp, but there's others. So I really recommend. There's a Tiki artist who did two really beautiful posters. He's a great designer, and he did a Kickstarter, and just nobody. It just failed miserably. But I think he just didn't have. You have to really kind of nurture and harvest an audience before launching, I think.
I like
everybody's trying to be seen, aren't they, at the same time? And
and I don't think you can expect a Kickstarter to be successful if you have no audience and you're just relying on people finding you on Kickstarter. I don't think that's going to work.
I was surprised by the amount of people who found me on Kickstarter. I was like, oh,
really?
I was thinking, well, I didn't know what to expect, and I was kind of just expecting a few pity pledges from my friends, but no, I was like pleasantly surprised. I thought people do like, original ideas.
But you did also promote it on Facebook and your groups.
Sure.
Oh yeah,
You do.
That was where most of it was from, admittedly, and with other people helping me. Yeah, definitely.
Richard's always a great help, as I know many people have said before, but it's true.
He's awesome.
Yeah.
We call him the card father.
The card father.
Yeah. yeah, he's great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, other than cultivate your idea and your audience. And as I know, it feels like you're annoying people, but you have to get the word out when it's live. I try not to hit everybody every day with it, and sometimes I'll alternate Twitter one day, Facebook the other day. But you do have to kind of remind them, especially in the first 2 days or so.
Yeah.
And then at the end.
I do struggle with that. Like you said, I don't like to feel like I'm annoying people by shoving the same thing in the face over it. It makes me feel like, oh. But, you have to let people know what's going on, don't you? There'll be some people who've not seen. And
even, I mean, your mailing list, these people, by their own volition, clicked and joined. So, but even then, during a Kickstarter, I might only do like 4 over the course of 3 weeks or so, like 4 emails. I don't want to, overburden it. Another important thing is to find a Facebook group or a blog that might be interested in your set that would promote it.
Very good point.
Yeah, I always look out for that. I've been searching for Poe blogs, and all the ones I find haven't been updated in years. But there is a big Poe Facebook group, and the person who runs that has shared my campaign a couple times already, and they said they would while it's live. So you need to find something within the genre or the world that you're launching to help promote it,
or even other podcasts that can kind of help spread your thing.
Yeah, sure. I always try to reach out. Sometimes I don't hear back from anybody, and there's even sometimes some Instagram accounts. There's a couple that have given me shout outs over the years. A few of them follow me, but they've just been super friendly. And if it's something that they're really interested in, I'll show it to them. I often send them, a complimentary set afterwards or whatever, But you definitely have to kind of look for that.
That's a good idea, offering a complimentary set, isn't it?
That is a nice thing. Once you actually have a stock of sets or something that you've done, well, then you have that to send out, either to sell or give or whatever.
Yeah. Every set I give out probably about 10 sets to different people who've helped out.
That's awesome. Where can people find you on that? Well, we've mentioned your website, but we'll mention it again, and I'll drop all the links in the show notes below.
Thank you. Yeah, so ZeroStreet.com is the main site, and from there you'll find links to everything. But I'm Zero Street on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. I believe it's The Art of Robert Jimenez, if I'm not mistaken. But you can find that link on my site. I've got eBay shops, Etsy, all the third-party ones like TeePublic, Society6. I'm on all those. You'll find all that on my website.
What do you like, Etsy?
I do. I don't sell near as much on Etsy as I do on eBay.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as much. But I keep it going. I have an eBay shop, and the fees are super high, but it really does well, And I promote all my listings, so they take like another $2 or $3 on each sale, aside from all the other fees when you promote them. But they only do it when it sells, so that's okay.
Do you sell directly off your website? I didn't go to look yet.
Yeah, the website has a shop section.
Okay.
And everything with the exception, I do these metal signs that sell pretty well, like vintage style metal signs.
Wow.
But Shopify, the only negative I have of it is a lot of people do is the way to set up your shipping is super difficult. They try to push you to a third-party app, which is a monthly fee, which I just don't want to do. eBay, is so simple. You could just set a cost for shipping, and if someone ordered a second one, you can set that. So aside from my metal signs, which only sell on eBay, you can get just about everything on my main shop.
Okay, good to know. I'd really like to thank you for having come on and shared all this. You're a wealth of knowledge. And I'm probably going to be buying a pin from you because enamel pins. I just love them.
I have something to aspire to now. Looking at your website.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, for sure.
I hope to have you back later this year.
Sure.
And remember, when this comes out, go and support the Kickstarter for Poe. Is it just called Poe? It's
called Poe Ghastly Vignettes. And I just took, I reread a lot of Poe for this, and I just took just whatever struck me as being very visual, and have that excerpt on the back and the illustration in the front.
Okay. Right. Yeah, by this time, it'll be underway. So yes, please do go visit Poe Vignettes.
Ghastly Vignettes.
Ghastly Vignettes. All right, gotcha. Okay, well, thank you again. Thank you so much for having come to talk to us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh.